Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk a little bit about Verdun. I felt that it was absolutely necessary that I revisit and discuss Verdun once again here on the channel as the Battlefield 1 beta is wrapping up. That's right, we're not going to compare the two. What I actually wanted to do today was to kind of advocate for fans of the Battlefield franchise, fans of Battlefield 1, to give Verdun a go, to really talk about why I think these two games actually complement each other incredibly well. They're two completely different takes on World War I, and they're two completely different first-person shooter experiences. That's a good reason within itself, but we're going to go a bit deeper than that. When you look at Battlefield 1 and what DICE is doing with it, it's obvious that it's a more experimental take on the World War I setting. We're seeing the use of a lot of experimental and prototype weapons. That started to grow on me. Honestly, my time with the beta, it's actually become really satisfying to, see things like the Mondragon, weapons that I've seen on Forgotten Weapons and on the Great War, these prototypes and experimental weapons. They only made 1,000 of them. I've actually really started to like the idea of being able to take those weapons out into battle in a game like Battlefield 1. And of course, the other side of BF1 is that they're using more of the fronts of the war that didn't focus on trench warfare because those environments are better suited for the Battlefield experience. So we're really getting a different side of World War I. There will always be a part of me that wants to see them do their take on trench warfare, but if that never happens, and even if it does, it's awesome to know that you have a game that has a more authentic World War I experience, that doesn't have an abundance of prototype and experimental weapons, that focuses more on the trench warfare aspect of World War I. So let's talk about the actual FPS, the gunplay, the first-person shooter experience that you're gonna get with World War I inside of Verdun. Because this is where things really start to separate, right? Obviously, we've got two different settings, that's great, but Verdun in itself is a completely different first-person shooter experience than what you get in Battlefield, and this is why I think it complements BF1 so well. You can sit down, you can play Battlefield 1, you can rack up 70 kills and throw out 50 million ammo supplies, or 20 med packs and 20 heals, you can fly a plane and strafe through the center of town with it and kill a guy on a horse. That's Battlefield, That's the nature of Battlefield. It's a crazy sandbox experience where the developers love to give the player tools to interact inside of that sandbox, to create those Battlefield moments, right? The thing about an experience like Battlefield 1, or Battlefield at all for that matter, is that often the maximum level of satisfaction for the player, the most gratification that a player can get, the highest level of reward, starts to come at a much higher cost. So the player has to do more, they have to accomplish more, they have to get more kills, more points to really feel like they're coming out on top. Now, of course, peppered within all of that is those cool Battlefield moments. Like I said, the cinematic value of the nature of Battlefield's multiplayer. That's what makes up the Battlefield experience. Verdun offers a more hardcore approach, a more hardcore set of rewards that come at a much greater cost. That's really the theme of Verdun, and if I had to sum Verdun up, I would say that it's all about challenging the individual. It's all about throwing obstacles at the player. Those obstacles come in a lot of different forms. It can be building map knowledge. It can be just, really getting the situational awareness that you need to be successful and survive in Verdun. It can be the simple act of shooting a target at long range with a tiny iron sight when they basically look like a pixel on your screen. And there's so many other elements to Verdun, right, that add up to that consistent level of challenge. But the payoff, the reward for completing those challenges, for developing the map knowledge, for wrapping your head around the different systems that exist inside the Frontlines mode, is so damn high. And when that all comes together, and you get past the learning curve, when you get past the initial process of how to play Verdun, then you get the true Verdun experience. You get that level of teamwork that is necessary to make that push to the next enemy foothold, to push through that choke point. And this is really where the trench warfare comes into play. I know a lot of people look at the trench warfare aspect of Verdun, and that's really what turns them away instantly. They're like, that just sounds boring, sitting in a trench, camping in a trench all day. But it is such an integral part of that experience, and the pacing that makes Verdun so enjoyable. A game like Battlefield never really shuts off. The player is always moving. Yeah, you can sort of lock yourself down in an area and defend it, but even then you're like running around a house to kill a guy who's trying to chase you. There's this constant sense of urgency to go from point to point to point to point. Verdun is always one slow, hard push forward, or one slow, hard push backwards as you'd attempt to prevent yourself from being pushed backwards. That level of pacing is really where the satisfaction for Verdun comes into play for me. You know, knowing that my team can sit in a trench, just biding our time essentially. You're taking that shot, one kill after another kill, just waiting for that moment, waiting for that opportunity to break through the enemy defenses, to make that push, and to move one step closer to victory. It's a long, drawn-out, and sometimes arduous process. There's no denying that. But it's that pacing, it's that process that makes the end result so rewarding. You know, I can't think of a time where I've had a victory in Verdun's frontline mode where I didn't, at the end, scream, "We are victorious," or, you know, something to that effect. It's just the nature of the game. It's grin-inducing, and a lot of it has to do, again, with those challenges, with those frustrations that you have to put up with on an almost consistent level when playing Verdun. But each and every payoff just feels so incredibly satisfying because of that. That's Verdun, right? It's so different from Battlefield, which is why I would never directly compare the two, but it is exactly why I applaud you as a fan of Battlefield, of more fast-paced and arcade-style shooters, to come check out the experience that Verdun has to offer. You know, if you can really get a sense of how different it is, and you can accept that, and you can appreciate what it has to offer, I really do think you'll find something to enjoy here. And along the way, if you're somebody who appreciates the setting and is interested in the history, you know, you'll get a taste of that trench warfare, of that setting and how these battles were fought. You'll get an idea of how it all worked, and I think that within itself is, you know, another reward on its own. That's really wicked cool, and that's a great part of Verdun, you know, for me. That authenticity and their real focus on capturing trench warfare and just how brutal and ridiculous it was. And trust me, the first time your team, you know, it goes to make that big push, you think you've killed enough guys, and you're like, yep, let's do this. The CO's got he's calling in the bombs, he's calling in the support. We're gonna pop smoke, we're gonna run, and you blast out of that trench, and 3 out of the 5 guys with you all get shot down, and you barely make it 10 feet into the next foxhole. It'll all come together. You'll probably grin, your heart will get pumping a little bit, and just maybe you'll find yourself hooked on Verdun. Now, Verdun is $25 over on Steam. You've got 2 hours to play it and still be able to refund it. I applaud you, I commend you as a Battlefield fan, as a fan of more fast-paced first-person shooter experiences, to give it a go, see what you think of it, just give it a small chance, give it an opportunity. You've got a really great situation with Battlefield 1 releasing in October to have 2 very different World War I experiences on the market, to give you 2 completely different tastes of the World War I setting in history. Take advantage of that. Anything else for me? Let me know down in the comment section below. Those of you guys who are big Verdun fans, if you'd like to advocate for the game, let people know why you think they should come check it out. You know, talk a little bit about your personal experiences and why you think the game is worthy of someone else's time. Feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.